Seriously, Apple, stop playing games and just give us the M3 chip already. I don't care if it's an iMac or a MacBook Air, just give me that sweet 3nm goodness that I've literally been waiting for the past 2 years for. We hoped it would show up with the M2 chip, but no. We even had a bunch of leaks and rumors pointing to the M2 Pro and Max getting 3nm, but no again, we got 5nm plus. And earlier this year, we had people betting on these 3nm Macs finally coming in June, but now that we're getting into the fall, we're getting even worse leaks and news by the day. So Apple, when the heck are they coming? Well, in this video, we're gonna try and make sense of all of these recent rumors, like the weirdest one of all that we just got from Mark Gurman, and try to puzzle piece the entire lineup and when we should expect each chip to come, like the M3, the M3 Pro, the M3 Max, and the Ultra. So let's get started. Back in March of this year, Mark Gurman reported that there was evidence Apple was readying its next range of Macs, including a new iMac with the M3 chip. Then in May, he found evidence of Apple already testing a MacBook Pro with an M3 Pro chip with clear evidence in developer logs. In July, he reported that Apple's first M3 powered Macs are likely to launch in October, yes, this month, including a 13-inch Air, a 13-inch MacBook Pro, and that same iMac. But just the other day, he came out with some pretty bad news, saying that each M3 Mac has ultimately been delayed until 2024, and this actually matches what Ming-Chi Kuo recently said, with it being unlikely to get any new Macs at all until next year. And even more specifically, he said that the 24-inch iMac for sure is not coming until 2024, even though we recently had leaks of an imminent M2 and M2 Pro version of the iMac coming very soon, which is apparently wrong as well. So to everyone's disappointment, we might not be getting any new Macs until next year. But honestly, does this make any sense at all? And what if everybody is wrong? Because if you think about it, the very first M1 Macs were revealed in November of 2020, and almost exactly 1.5 years later, we got the M2 chip, setting us up for a 1.5 year Apple Silicon M series chip cycle compared to the once-a-year cycle for the iPhone chips. And yep, you guessed it, 1.5 years after the M2 would put us right in line with November of this year being the perfect opportunity for an M3 chip reveal. But to crush everyone's dreams, Ming-Chi Kuo just came out with a brand new report from his suppliers saying that shipments of components that are planned to be going into Macs this upcoming fourth quarter of the year are down 25 to 35% compared to last year. This essentially means that Apple themselves are expecting MacBook sales to be down by basically that much in the fourth quarter, which also hints at no new Macs launching, because if there were, the demand would definitely shoot up. Kuo also pointed out that MacBook sales as a whole this year are expected to be 30% lower compared to 2022, which is honestly really bad, with lower than expected sales for the 15-inch MacBook Air that we had last summer. And ultimately, he believes that Apple is intentionally choosing to withhold the launch of any new Mac products with the goal of clearing existing inventories ahead of the huge M3 chip releases. And why would Apple do this? Well, I think I know the reasons, but first, I want to get into the very specific, crazy, weird leak that we just got from Mark Gurman. In his latest Power On newsletter, he said that we should be expecting 4 new MacBooks in 2024, but the release dates are the exact opposite of what makes sense. Apparently, the 14 and 16-inch high-end MacBook Pros with the M3 Pro and M3 Max chips are coming first, between early 2024 and the spring. And then on the other hand, the 13-inch MacBook Air that we were all expecting this month is actually earlier in the production phase in the engineering verification testing phase, which means that we might not see them until the spring or even summer at the earliest. In my view, this is incredibly weird because Apple has been releasing the lower end M chips first and then going up the line to the Pro, the Max, and the Ultra chips, but now they're seemingly flipped. So what the heck is going on, Apple? Well, I think I know what's going on, so let's get right into it with reason number 1 being the economy. The economy is definitely not in the same place as it was last year, with people having less disposable income to spend, leading to less demand for tech products in general, especially PCs and smartphones, with demand for each category going down. Student loan repayments have just restarted, and many people in tech have been getting laid off over the last few months, and a good number of people are also taking pay cuts these days with new jobs, with some companies actually asking their employees to take pay cuts. So why would Apple release their incredible M3 Max while demand has been going lower and lower, which could ruin this launch? Why not just sit it out and wait until we have hopes of economic recovery next year? But now getting into reason number 2, I personally have been saying for a while that it makes sense for Apple to start Apple Silicon chip development on their higher end chips first with the Mac chip and then bringing the tech down to smaller chips like the iPhone A series chips. Why? Well, to avoid the major yield issue that Apple just went through with the brand new 3nm A17 Pro chip in the new iPhone 15 Pro, which is an extremely high volume product moving millions of units in a short period of time. Why not introduce the latest chip tech in lower volume products like the high-end MacBooks first, giving Apple and TSMC time and experience to work through yield issues and any flaws in the chip making process so they can more easily prepare the chips for the mass market iPhones. And now for reason number 3, because of all of the yield issues negatively impacting the performance and efficiency of the A17 Pro chip, what if those issues caused Apple to delay the mass market M3 MacBook Airs if there simply weren't enough chip yields for both the new iPhones and consumer MacBooks at the same time? What if it makes more sense to first use the same problematic N3B chip process for the high-end MacBook Pros, which don't sell as many units, and then actually delay the M3 chip until the next generation N3E process is ready? So then N3E would debut on the M3 chip, and then later in September, it would be brought to the iPhones, allowing time to work through any issues while selling these MacBook Airs. That could be a good enough reason for Apple to weirdly delay the M3 longer than we expected, temporarily breaking the 1.5-year update cycle so they could reset with a new cycle next year. Apple unfortunately chose to release the 15-inch Air this past summer with the same 1-year-old M2 chip, which was a bit of a disappointment to those waiting on the M3, which created a dilemma that caused many people who wanted the 15-inch to hold off on purchasing it because of the hype for the M3 chip that we expected this fall. So if Apple released just the 13-inch M3 Air this fall, there would be an even bigger dilemma for people who wanted the bigger 15-inch size, but would be left with the old M2 chip. So sales would get even worse. And of course, if they chose to update the 13 and 15 at the same time with the M3 chip this fall, that would mean the 15-inch M2 would have basically the shortest lifespan ever, with many upset customers. So because of that, Apple could be delaying the 13-inch Air altogether until next year so they can finally release both the 13 and 15-inch models together, getting them on the same update cycle, which they naturally should have been in the first place. It's all just a mess of a situation, and unfortunately, if true, people holding off for the M3 MacBook Air are gonna have to wait longer than we thought. So hopefully you enjoyed this updated leaks video, and if you did, you can subscribe above and check out our video on iPad leaks right over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.